It's entirely up to you.
This audience and the whole nation has heard time and time again the fact that I was effectively pro-choice when I ran for office. When I became governor of Massachusetts, the first time a bill came to my desk that dealt with life, I simply could not side with taking life. And I came on the side of life. Every bill that came to my desk, every issue that related to protecting the sanctity of life. Thank you.
Mayor Giuliani, would you like to respond?
I think I've explained my position on abortion, which is that I oppose it, but I believe that ultimately the government should leave that decision to a woman and her conscience. I would like to see limitations on abortion. I brought those about in New York City. We reduced abortion and change.
Senator Thompson, you've expressed doubts that the recent report on Iran's nuclear capabilities is accurate. As president, how would you decide when to disagree with available intelligence, and then what would you do?
Well, that's probably the most important question that's been asked today. We have a real problem with our intelligence community. It, along with certain parts of our military, were neglected for a long, long time in this country, and we're paying the price for it now. The fact is that nobody has any real confidence in the result that they're getting. And the result you're talking about was directly contradicted by their strong beliefs just 2 years ago. So you've got to rebuild from the bottom up. I think that in the meantime, we have to rely on other people. The British are helpful to us. The Israelis sometimes are helpful to us.
Thank you.
In many respects, they have advancements that we don't have in terms of our intelligence capabilities. But the president cannot let a piece of paper by a bureaucrat solely determine what his actions must be.
Thank you. We're going to have to move on. Let's watch the next videos.
If a person says, I'm a person of faith, but I don't let it influence me and I don't talk about it, what they've just told me is that their faith is so immaterial, insignificant, and inconsequential that it really isn't a faith at all. If it's a faith, it will drive their judgment, it will drive their value system, and therefore it will help define them. It's ludicrous to say that I have faith, but it doesn't impact me at all.
I think the hardest thing in this age of struggle against radical Islamic extremism is balancing the rights of everyone's privacy plus our ability to combat this great evil of radical Islamic extremism. And that's why I think that there has to be the participation of the courts, the legislature, the executive branch, and the American people to what measures we take.
Governor Huckabee, you are distinguishing yourself from other candidates by focusing on faith. You say your faith doesn't just influence you, that it defines you. A person who chooses you for president then would expect that to translate to public policy. So give me 2 examples you've not previously given, one in healthcare and one in education, where your faith would define change you want to see in policy.
The 2 overriding principles are you treat others as you wish to be treated. As it relates in healthcare, that means that we recognize that a person who is sick shouldn't be treated differently because they're in poverty than a person who has extraordinary wealth, that we have some sense of balance in how we approach that. That's the essence of what America is about. The second basic principle is that inasmuch as you've done it to the least of these, my brethren, you've done it unto me. And as it relates to both health, education, or any policy, what it really means is that you go back to what the Founding Fathers said. All of us are created equal, endowed by our Creator with those rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
But 2 specific changes in policy.
Well, I think I just tried to give them to you, both in education, that everyone has an opportunity. You give education and health care, that you don't have some that are more equal than others. So there has to be a sense in which you have opportunity, whether it's through choice in charter schools in the education field. You have a curriculum that touches every child, not just a few. And in health care, you don't have a health care system like Congress has that is incredibly, almost platinum, but there are a lot of Americans who can't even go to the doctor and find out if they're critically ill or if they have a terminal disease.
Thank you. Governor Romney, as you look at the most pressing problems facing our country and the best opportunities to affect change in the next 4 years, do you think it's more important for the next president to be a fiscal conservative or a social conservative?
I think it's incredibly important that he be a conservative. And I'm going to build on the same foundation Ronald Reagan built. We're not going to get the White House nor strengthen America unless we can pull together the coalition of conservatives and conservative thought that has made us successful as a party. And that's social conservatives, it's also economic conservatives, and foreign policy and defense conservatives. Those three together form the three legs of the Republican stool that allowed Ronald Reagan to get elected and allowed our party to have strength over the last several decades. And I'm going to continue to draw, as many on the stage try and do, upon those strengths and to build America by virtue of those conservative principles, whether in health care, education, defense, spending, entitlement reform, you name it. Conservative principles work. They've been tested time and again, and they'll keep working.
Thank you. Congressman Hunter, same question.
Repeat the question. I was lost in Governor Romney's explanation. I thought it was quite good, though.
Do you think it's more important for the next president to be a fiscal conservative or a social conservative?
I think they both go to the core of this country, because you have to keep the economy running. You've got to keep the wheels turning, and of course the heart of our country is this idea that human beings have value. That they are given these inalienable rights that have been described by my friends. So those are two very important things. But one thing that's extremely important that Governor Romney didn't touch on is this. We also, in being a conservative, having a conservative leader, part of that means not sending technology to our adversaries, and that's going to be the big threat of this next 15, 20 years. Governor Romney's corporation that he founded, the Bain Capital Corporation, has joined up with a Chinese corporation to buy an American defense contractor.
Thank you.
I think that is a mistake, and that's a defense contractor that did business with Saddam Hussein and with the Taliban. So that, I think, is a very important part of conservative leadership. And thank you.
We're going to look at the last video.
I think we're better off by strictly following the Constitution as it existed and as it was brought forward. And if we think there's a need for a new right, then going to the people or their elected representatives to establish that right, rather than having judges from their own heart or their own mind establishing new rights and new laws. It's not for judges to legislate or to create a new Constitution. That's something that only the people and their elected representatives should be able to do.
There are two sides to your human component, you know. One is the God-filled side, and one is the human side. And there are things that feed either side, you know. And whichever you feed the most becomes the dominant side. And so you have to kind of concentrate on feeding the good side, or else you will lose control over it.
The least we can do is look at our social policies and not just be concerned about the consuming of what's before us in the short view, but what's best for the overall country, what's best for the future generations of this nation. And are we going to leave this place a better place than when we came into it? To me, that's real patriotism.
Congressman Tancredo, your foreign policy positions on your campaign website consist of 5 sentences on Iraq. What assures Americans you're ready to lead our foreign policy?
Because the issue, of course, as I mentioned earlier, is just a battle going on in Iraq. The major battle is, of course, this clash of civilizations. I believe that the whole idea and the whole debate can be narrowed to a relatively small area on a website or any place else, and that is this. We cannot leave Iraq. We are committed there and will be for a long time, and that doesn't, I don't care who's elected president, that's the reality of the situation. We can, however, stop, in fact, being the police force in Iraq, and we are doing it. We are moving in exactly the direction that my website, the statement, anticipates. What more do I have to say? We're getting it done.
Thank you. Congressman Paul, you call your campaign a revolution, and I think it's safe to say that your brand of change is one of the most sweeping proposed by any candidate of either party. But getting your agenda through Congress would likely require a revolution of an entirely different sort. So how would you adjust your plan in light of political reality in Washington?
Well, the secret is the term revolution wasn't my word, and it didn't come up on our webpage. It was coined by the supporters. But in a way, it is revolutionary to go back to the Constitution. And we'd like to continue the old revolution And believe me, freedom is unifying. We bring a lot of people together. People then are free to choose what they would like to do with their lives, free to choose how they would spend their money, and all of a sudden we wouldn't be telling other countries how to live.
But
So
getting
this
through
brings people
Congress.
together. And I think it's appealing to both left and right and middle, and our